One, two, three, one, two, three. Hello again, guys. I think we are all ready for the next topic. I hope everyone had time for eating. No one is hungry, so let's keep our event. So the topic is gonna be psychology tips and secrets for personages in different games. So, 1 second. Michal Debek is Trividence CEO plus head of research is gonna tell us this topic, and let's dive in it out.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon after the break. My name is Michal Debek. I'm the CEO and head of research in Trividence. We are a research agency focused totally on game dev, not other topics. And in a nutshell, we study the gaming market. We have our UX laboratory and gaming laboratory. And also we do quantitative research, so big scale surveys around the world. And we also provide our clients with mock reviews made by journalists from around the world, UK, US, Germany, Poland, etc. So we are so-called one-stop shop for a developer or publisher who wants to test their games or wondering if their games are, well suited for the market and can have a market success. So this presentation is a bit experimental, I have to say. It's like late beta, I would say. Still minor bugs can occur. Because it was really, it was really done even today in this morning, some of the slides, because my colleague, who is co-author of this presentation and of this research, Marcelina Król, she's a game researcher in Trividence and future psychologist. She's in Canada right now, so we were working in huge time shifts, and it was really, challenging, I would say. So the research project about these characters, gaming characters, is ongoing. And I will present you with some theory and preliminary results of research conducted on over 100 Polish players, Polish gamers from our database of gamers. These are mid-core to hardcore gamers. So this is a little disclaimer that it's not a whole population of gamers, but we will also study the whole population of gamers, and we will deliver the results, I think, till the end of this year, probably on our blog site. So you can just observe it and and read about it later. So the agenda of this presentation is first I will tell you just ultra short about the characters, the types of characters we studied, and we will talk about today. Then I will show you what characters gamers like and dislike from our research. And then I will present you with key psychological concepts which are vital to or maybe critical to developing a great character. So it would be identification, projection, compensation, self-esteem, empathy, a sense of agency, archetypes, which you are probably somehow familiar with. And then we will wrap it up in total, and we will end with 10 psychological tips for making your characters appealing to players. It will be a bit shift there, but you will see why. Okay, so first I will show it.
Your whole life you've been searching, and the elders, they've been holding you back.
The girl is a curse. She came from nowhere. She is no one.
When they told me to raise you, I I didn't ask questions.
Why am I an outcast? Who was my mother?
Always you pushed for answers. Push yourself to the edge. Here in the valley, we may be outcasts, but it's safe. Out there, girl, you'll be lost. You won't know where to turn or who to trust. You'll be chasing a riddle into a wilderness of mysteries.
Okay, that's
The wo-
enough. That's totally enough. Can anyone guess why I have chosen and show you Aloy in particular? Do you know why? Yes, that's the perfect answer, because it's a character. It's well-designed character. That's the first, of course, obvious reason. The second reason is that it's a type of character we are focusing on in this research and in this whole project. And the third reason is hidden right now, and I will reveal it to you in the end of presentation, somehow in the end of the presentation. Because we will not talk about characters like Pac-Man or Donkey Kong or whatever you imagine. We will only talk, I will only speak about playable, human-like characters. They might be cartoonish or realistic, it doesn't matter, but the scope is to focus on human-like characters. So let's start with characters that players like and dislike, and it is derived from our research. And let's start from examples. Examples are here will be from the question: name the character who you like. It's just a spontaneous, association of the gamer. It's unaided, so-called unaided brand awareness or unaided character awareness. So gamers just wrote down what characters they like. Who do you think was liked character? Do you think you can imagine what gamers told us? Yeah, main characters, playable characters. Mostly men? Okay, that's a guess, yeah. Do you have an idea? Guess, yeah, guess what players declared, what kind of character, not the, what was the name of the character? The name, yeah, the name. The name or the game? World of Warcraft. Okay, I will not, sorry? The Last of Us. Yeah, that's the perfect guess. Okay, these are top 10 of unaided awareness. So these were characters gamers declared as liked. So they just like them without any, stimulation from our side that we ask them, do you remember this Geralt and what do you think about this Geralt? No, they just declare it in the, blank paper. Okay. And the top 10 of aided brand awareness or aided character awareness. So we showed the list of the characters to the gamers, and gamers assessed them one by one. Did they play the character for some few hours, and what they think about them? Okay, so it's a different ball game because it's not like they declare from their mind, but they have a list and they assess the characters. So this is the top 10 of aided, okay, liked characters. So if someone guessed The Last of Us, here it is, of course. Wiedźmin and Ciri was, of course, probably because we were testing it on Polish players. So Polish players are very, very into Wiedźmin, as you probably imagine. But they are, anyway, great characters, apart from they are, heavily embedded in Polish culture. So who is the most loved one? The most loved one from all of this? What do you think? Geralt, of course, yeah. In Polish population, it's always Geralt. But the second one is Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2, and the third one is Ezio Auditore da Firenze, which is not so obvious as you probably imagine. In Polish population first, and the second reason it's not obvious is that Ezio Auditore was, I don't know, a few years ago from now was depicted as, as a character. So it seems to be really great developed character if it's still in our gamers' minds. It's, as you can see, it's 113 gamers who assess those characters. Why Wiedźmin? Why Geralt? Yeah, he is iconic indeed, and he has a great background from the stories, I mean, from the books. But first of all, we think we have to deepen it in in-depth interviews with gamers, of course, in qualitative research. But we think that the main reason is it's a hero with a flow. It's a hero who is not, a standard classic hero who is always good, always make, great things. He is complicated. His emotions are complex, and he wants to find his way through this, whole world of The Witcher. So he has definitely traits or maybe characteristics which constitute a great character. Arthur Morgan, which is my preferred character, by the way, is a bit similar to Wiedźmin because he is an outlaw and he is also a hero in some way, and he is also complicated, and he runs his fight inside of him, this psychological fight between good and bad, between morality and ethics, and so on and so on. So he is complicated, definitely. Ezio Auditore is another story. We will maybe get back to them if we will to him if we will have some more time. If we have top-aided awareness, I mean, when people see the characters on the list, that Ciri is the third instead of Ezio Auditore. Ciri is, by the way, also a great character because she's courageous, she's independent, she's warrior, but she's very empathetic and full of empathy. Yeah. And her story is, of course, intertwined with Geralt's story. And yeah, she's caring, and she is also a fighter. So very, very good character. Characters that gamer dislike. I want to ask you about that. I just show it to you. We had, great discussion inside our company. Why every of these guys or women, sorry? Why Chloe? Yeah, we had this conversation, and girls, I mean psychologists in our company said that Chloe is too much teenager, and she has she's wild as teenager, and it's hard to have it's hard to handle her in some way psychologically because she is a classic teenager, and it's not so sympathetic for gamers. Maybe, but these are hypotheses. We only know that gamers told us that they don't like them. So Chloe. Okay. The most hated character anyway is Micah Bell, and it's completely understood because it's an outlaw, it's ruthless, he is ruthless, he's unpredictable, he's criminal, he's hitman, and most of all, he is in open conflict with Arthur, who is liked, as you saw on the slides, previous slides. So if a gamer is, identified with Arthur, he or she will automatically have a bad relationship, or maybe not good relationship psychologically, with Micah Bell. And other dislikes are Abby Anderson, Ethan Mars, and Jason Brody. And Abby Anderson is because she, probably because of her attitude to Joel and what she's done to Joel, and people really disliked to be forced in The Last of Us 2 playing this character, because they didn't want to identify with this character. It's like, I don't want to be her, and I'm forced to be her. Okay, that's the story, the first part of the story from our research, and the second part is the theory behind all of those characters. The first concept, because we will try to figure out, I will try to tell you why some of those characters are liked in more details or disliked in more details. First of all, we have a concept of identification. The concept of identification is the simplest one in psychology, by the way. It's the process of associating the gamer's self closely to the character. It's just so simple. So the more the character is in some way like me, the more I will identify with this character. It doesn't matter, is it a man or woman? It's only about psychological traits. Identification with a character impacts player engagement, of course, and enjoyment of the game, impacts in plus, of course. It affects the intention to purchase the game items, some kind of items related to characters, etc. And it impacts also character assessment, like I said. If I'm similar to someone, I assess this person better than if the person is not like me. It's a common psychological phenomena. So that's about identification. And what is the tip for developers to foster this identification with the character? Try to portray personal fears and desires of the gamer through the character. I mean, you have to be a bit of amateur psychologist, and you have to, imagine fears and desires of your target audience, and you have to imagine what would it be, the fears and the desires. And it seems a tough quest, but it's not really tough to, figure it out if you know your audience well. Because if the character has these fears and desires that your target audience have, he or she, the character, will be likable and identifiable. I'd say, I don't know if it's a word in English like that. The second tip is embrace imperfections. So as I said in case of Wiedźmin, Geralt, you have to portray, many flaws and just humanity. None of us is, without the flaw. Every one of us make mistakes, and so on. So portray it in the character, and you will increase the potential for identification of the gamer with the character. And the third is allow customization of the character. it's obvious for every one of you who ever designed RPG game, probably. It's of course obvious, and more and more games on today's market, on nowadays markets, allow customization of characters, even if it's like, you know, to buy some hats or some weapons or whatever, the clothing. It's a good idea to increase identification with the character, because I can, you know, dress him or her in clothing, for example, which I identify with, and embrace contradictions, and showcase character development. So if Wiedźmin or whoever has some contradiction, inner conflicts and dilemmas, it's good. It's perfectly good, and showcase how he or she is coping with that through the storyline, through the narrative. It will impact positively the identification for sure. What is also important and maybe not so obvious, use FPP perspective instead of TPP, because FPP perspective fosters identification with the character. TPP is okay if you are aiming for spectacularity, for, you know, cinematic, you know, blows and so on. It's okay, and it is really it looks really well on trailers and marketing materials. But to foster identification, use FPP. I've tried to ask my colleagues from 11-bit Studios and CD Projekt and so on, who are our clients, is it more expensive to do FPP game than TPP game? But they said that it's absolutely, you know, it is depending on such a million of circumstances that it is, you know, not, it is impossible to assess it. And most of all, know your audience well. You have to know your audience. You have to know who you target and who will be your player, because if you know them, you know who, in terms of character, they will probably identify with, or who they won't identify with. And a case study is not Wiedźmin, not Geralt, but V. V is the person, the person, yeah, it's a container, I would say, which is the higher assessed on the scale how their traits are similar to yours. We asked gamers which of those, you know, characters have traits similar to yours, and it's obvious that V is the most, you know, similar, because V is a container when you insert your personality. So he or she has those traits. The next is projection. The next psychological concept is projection. I won't make it in this time. No way, okay. Okay, the projection is a process of, it's a little expansion to identification. It's not a standalone process. When people, gamers, are identified, highly identified with a character, a gamer can imagine that the character they play has a certain traits or characteristics, or will perform actions as the gamer would do or would have. It's like you project yourself to the character. When a gamer doesn't know how a character feels, or you know, what their character will do, they just, based on their experiences, gamers' experiences, and imagine how it would be, and assume that the character will do what they would do in such a situation. It's a tough construction in English, but that's how it is. So why it is important at all? Because the games where the player can project on the character make or are something personal for a player, not just entertainment. They just, you know, they are life they start to be alive entities, the characters. So they are more important than just a game. Projection, of course, strengthens identifications, and identifications with characters strengthens projections. It's two-way process. It's two-way process. The note is, if you leave the open, open ground or open access to, or open character for player to project their own feelings, their own behaviors, and their own, fears, etc., to the character, and then you put this character into some strange situation which is inconsistent with this, what gamers imagined, it would be a tension, a psychological tension, and it can lead to some kind of even PR crisis. It was like with Abby. Abby was, more or less open character, and then suddenly they do harm to Joel, and it was not, it was not good, not well received by players. What are the tips for projection? If you like your gamers, your audience to project to your character, leave things unsaid. So give players free, space to project their feelings, their behaviors, potential behaviors, etc., to the character. Reveal glimpses of the psyche. It's again about internal monologues, flashbacks, and dreams, etc. And that's the notion about this thing with Abby. Don't force players to experience plot twists which are inconsistent with their imagination of the character suddenly. Unless you are hoping for a public controversy, which could be good in some cases because it make you famous. But I don't know if you like to be famous from, something like this. If you are a small studio, especially. The perfect case of projection is, in fact, Max Caulfield. She is very, very, she is a character with which is easy to identify, especially if you are a younger player, but not only. And it's easy to project, your situations, your feelings, your past experiences in high school to her. So it's a good piece of character anyway. The next one is compensation. Compensation is very, very easy. People play games and choose some characters because they compensate their deficiencies. So if I'm weak, I will choose Wiedźmin, or I will choose Arthur Morgan, or I will choose some hero like Kratos, just to feel mighty. It's like I would like to be like the character because of some of my deficiencies. Why is it important? Because wishful identification motivates gamers to increase time spent in game, which is very important, especially if your goal is to attach gamers for a long time to your game. Of course, it's also important because gamers are willing to spend more money on the game character if the character is someone who I would like to identify with. And they assess the character more favorably if they would like to be them. It's the so-called magic mirror hypothesis in psychology. And Okay, the tips. If you like gamers to compensate their deficiencies, if you like to foster wishful identification, you have to develop a character in line with an archetype desired by your target audience. It's all about your target audience again. So you have to know what kind of hero or outlaw or explorer or whatever your target audience would like to identify with and wish to identify with, and build the character based on this archetype, which I hopefully maybe managed to tell you about. I mean, the archetypes. Showcase character development again, allow character customization again, and the most typical or the most the characters which players would like to identify with are Geralt, but we discussed him already. So the Commander Shepard, which is a very open personality. It's you can, as a player, be you can make decisions whatever you like, but he is mighty character, he or she is mighty character, and anyway, he's a hero. And Ciri, which we discussed also, that she is fiercely independent young woman, and so on. I won't focus on that because I'm running right now. Players' self-esteem, you have to think about undermining it. Don't undermine players' self-esteem. It's a tough one and it's tricky because every one of us, including any gamer, evaluates themselves in a relation to others. And we evaluate ourselves mostly by comparing ourselves to other people, but also to characters in games, because if they are photorealistic depictions of humans, people will evaluate themselves in relation to this character. People in general want to be better than others, and if they are in the situation where they are not better than the other one who they are compare with, they will feel a tension, an unpleasant tension. So it's a tricky one because people always want to be better than others. And in the same time, people want to play heroes. I mean, the characters who are very, skilled in weapons and in magic and so on. So how to manage it? How to, make it happen? Because if someone is, like warrior, he is better in weapons than me, for sure. Right? The trick is the tension, the psychological tension, the unpleasant tension will be present only if these characters' traits are in spheres which are very, very important to me in my personal life as a gamer. So, for example, if you depict me some character of father in the game, and this father would be a greatest father than I am in my personal life, it would be not good, and I would never play this game. I simplify things. But if you show me the character which is a serial killer or hitman, it won't, violate my self-esteem, because I don't want to be a hitman, and I'm not aspiring to be hitman. So my comparisons with him are not because, oh my God, he's a hitman and I'm not. It's not important for me in my personal life. Okay, so tips are: embrace imperfections, you heard it already. Embrace contradictions, you heard it already. And also showcase character development to show gamers that everyone have some way to, to improve and to be a better person, just like us all. And the perfect case is Arthur Morgan, who we discussed before. He doesn't undermine players' self-esteem because he's a gunslinger. No one of us, I think, is a gunslinger. So his gunslinging skills are not threatening myself. And the other part of this Arthur Morgan character is very, very attractive, and I will identify with him, and I will play him eagerly. The fourth is empathy. Empathy, I will skip to what is it, because what is it, because I'm running out of time. So you probably know what is empathy, and I will only try to tell you that identification with a character can foster empathy. I mean, the more I'm identify with the character in game, the more empathy I feel for character and their relatives. And the more empathy I feel, the better is for, in general, reception of the game. In another direction, it doesn't work. The empathy doesn't mean that identification will rise. The tips are very important. Tip is show, don't tell. I mean, don't push the story, the empathetic story, the emotional story into the heads of your gamers. Let actions and other characters create this story to feel empathy by player. We had a client recently who tried to induce, to foster empathy in gamers, but the client, tries to tell the gamer, you have to feel empathy for this and this character. It doesn't work. It have to be, emergent from the whole gameplay. Portray personal fears and desires. You've already heard it. And who is the best case of empathy is Joel, as well as Sarah, because I'm the father of 2 daughters, so for me it's absolutely, totally, heartbreaking episode. But most of gamers which we discussed with said that Joel's, story is really emotional, and they felt empathy for Sarah and Joel. How the creators of the game achieved that? They locked the player's agency. They locked the possibility of player to move and to do something. It was inevitable. So I will tell it a bit more in the next point, maybe. But if you lock a player agency and try to force the player to watch the scene like this one, you will foster empathy for sure, and you will foster emotional activity. You don't. Maybe I will tell it because there will be probably some questions, so we will discuss it later a bit, because probably you will have some questions to this. Sense of agency is the problem that every player on the planet wants to have choices and wants to have, wants to create their own game. The better is if the game is open and it's open world, and they can travel this world and make choices and create their own story. And it's okay, but not always. Not always. Because if they are playing as they would like to play, as you can imagine, you have no control on emotional aspect of their experiences, the gamer's experiences. So the empathy and activation of emotion will be lower. And if it would be lower, the character will be more, cold And if it would be locked, as I said, and the player have to be in some kind of, sequence of the stories, it would be high in emotional attachment and empathy. So the more agency, the less empathy. The more empathy, the less agency. You have to find the sweet spot depending on what you like to achieve. The last case. Do you remember Farah Karim from Call of Duty? Yeah, not only as a strong and distinctive, commander, but in character, but there's her story. Her story was really heartbreaking, and that's another example, like with Joel, when creators of the game, on purpose, created emotional moment, and they then unleash the player to take his revenge on the Russians and so on. And I don't know if there were Russians, probably, because they were in this, yeah. Anyway, and the player have tension, growing tension, because of the story, and then the player could take his revenge. And this is the the part of the story when she is aiming in some Russian bandit. So that's the sense, that's the whole idea of limiting agency and then giving agency to player, limiting and giving it seems like Infinity Ward, Treyarch and Sledgehammer have mastered the balance between agency and evoking emotions, including empathy, long time ago, and they are doing it every time. There was a scene on the airport in some Call of Duty when the player was shooting to the people as a terrorist, as far as I remember. So it was like this, and it was also inevitable. Okay, and I have to stop here. And this part is about archetypes, so about the characters who are very stereotypical, maybe a bit cliché, but I will stop and leave your time for questions till this moment. And sorry for this, but it's the first time I'm doing this presentation, and the time is, I thought it would be an hour, so it's quarter to archetypes and the finish of the presentation. If any one of you would like to see the rest of this, I will show it to you in somewhere, maybe, if you are interested.
Yeah, actually, you did a great job, and I really liked it. But we should get to our question and answers phase. So let's start our discussion. Who wants to be the first? Okay. Do it.
So hello, thank you for your presentation. And as I understood, the knowledge of your audience is the key.
Yes, it's the base for everything.
Basically, all other thing is quite understandable for me in this perspective, yeah, not deep. But what you said, how it's better to understand your target audience. So for me, for example, I want to build some kind of game about the little boy do some crafting in his shop in the woods. It will be like for small kids, like 7 plus 10 years maximum. But I don't know, does it?
Oh my God. It's the toughest target group.
Yeah, I understand it. Just because I don't have ability to rely on them, basically, because I need to rely on their parents. Because I'm also a parent, so I want to build some game that I easily can give to my child during my coffee with wife or something like this outside in the city. So what is a better tool to understand what is your core audience?
Okay, can I be very direct to you all? Don't do games for yourselves. Never, never make games for yourselves. Maybe if you want to have, your own opus magnum, or you want to do some art, it's okay. But if you like to, earn money, don't do it. How to do it? You have to. Oh my God, it's a. Yeah, you can start from desk research, and you can start from just have a general overview of the market and see what kind of games are for your imagined target audience. Then you can ask players like 7 years old. It's very, very complicated, but let's say you can ask them, did they play those games and did they enjoy these games? And then if they enjoyed these games, why they enjoyed this game and why they don't enjoy or didn't enjoy these games. It's always like this. Start from desk research, then ask your target audience, and then try to adjust your game to what your target audience told you. It's always like this, and we do it for many developers, like smaller, bigger ones, publishers. It's always like this. You have to ask your audience. There is no other way. Yeah. If you mean technically, you have to invite them to probably to your office with their parents. Technically speaking, you have to pay the parents for being there, and
There is no some. Thank you. Okay. So there is no some tool, online tool that I can use for this
no,
kind
for
of.
for this kind of digging into motivations and digging into fears and hopes and so on. No, they are results of research, of quantitative research, for example, from Newzoo or Quantic Foundry, etc. But they are not deep. They are just, scratching surface, which is also good for some purposes, but not in this purpose. You have to dig in deep into the motivations in, figuring out fears and motivations and so on.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, it's quite funny when adult man asks about the game for for little kids, and you reply like, "Don't create games for yourselves." So
No, it's like technically it have to be some. It is best to have some women, yeah, and it's best to have some very nice women who used to work with children, like someone from kindergarten, some person who is used to work with children.
So okay, let's continue. Who also had? Yeah, here we go. And try to say into the microphone, okay?
Thank you, Michal, for your presentation, and everything you said was kind of made sense to me, except of one thing which I would like you to explain more. Can you give examples of characters that were not received well by players because of the reason that they broke their self-esteem? And players were, oh my God, he is or she is so beautiful or so strong or so fast or so smart that I don't associate myself with him or she. Because I personally never experienced that, not in any way, not in sort of like...
Because you are not a girl.
So it's...
It's just the simple answer.
Okay, so it's only valid for
No,
female players?
it is not. It is not valid only for girls. No, but if you would, a woman, you for sure will, have your self-esteem violated by some characters in games. So it is for sure. In your case, in case of every man, I won't, recall any example because we are in the beginning of dipping digger in this topic. So we haven't, interviewed players, male players, into this, related to this topic. So the simple answer, the second simple answer is no. I can't, show you the character right now today. I don't satisfy you, I know, but that's life.
Yeah, maybe I will ask you again, like to not spend a lot of time on this debate. But
Yeah, sure.
yeah, thank you for your answer.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have pretty much time, but you can continue with our speaker like in hall. So I think no questions are left, or anybody has something. Okay, I'll just tell the last one. You said that analyzing the desires and fears of your target audience, developers create characters by analyzing this information. So can we like highlight the example as a Spider-Man? Can we like say that he became successful and his like target audience is those who have scares on spiders, or no?
That's an interesting question, really. I don't. Yeah, it is possible to figure it out. And it's very easy because you can just do quantitative research, like 2 questions. If you are arachnophobic and where you played the Spider-Man game and did you enjoy it? So 3 questions, and you can correlate the
Okay,
results.
I'll just say, so what is the secret that personage became so successful? What is the main
Okay,
reason?
I have to show it to you on archetypes. Okay, I will show it to you how it works. Okay, it would be 3 slides, right?
Okay.
Okay,
Do it.
I won't go deep into archetypes. I just tell you that archetypes are various sets, and many authors have many classifications of archetypes, but these are, the most popular ones. And if you like to, for example, to figure out how your character have to be or is good to be, you have to just ask your audience, your imagined audience, who do they like to play with? Creator, ruler, caregiver, everyman, jester, etc. You cannot do it. Of course, you can, but it's not wise to do it in direct way because we've done it in 2021, and we received that most of gamers, it was over 400 players, like to play an outlaw archetype. When we directly, ask, what of those archetypes you would like to play? And now, in this research, in this year, we, instead of asking about 12 predefined classes, we asked about main motivations, main characteristics, and main fears, which were deconstructed from those archetypes. So we just put out the labels, outlaw, hero, and so on, and just asked about, characteristics. And here is what we have. Independence and self-actualization as a motive. It's what they like to play. I mean, the character they would like to play. Again, independence, discovery, search for adrenaline, etc. And what they don't like in character is stupidity, ignorance, stagnation, and boredom. And that's how you can design a character, because if you combine it, those characteristics, this plus this minus this, you will have explorer, sage or witch or innocent archetype plus explorer archetype, and minus innocent archetype, because innocent can be boring, because innocent is not, engaging in some risk actions and so on. So you will have an explorer square / sage or witch. Okay, so that's it. That is how it could be done, by just eliminating items and sorting items. And then you have why I asked you about Aloy. Then you have Lara Croft, right? Because she is explorer and she is sage. Because sage is not only, the man who is with the bird and so on. The sage can be also detective, can be someone who is, pursuing for truth, understanding the world and so on and so on. An explorer is obvious. And the same, absolutely the same archetype is Aloy. And that's why I showed you Aloy in the beginning, because I thought you would be, maybe a bit surprised that these two are the same archetype. Yeah, I know it's zero. Yep. Is it answering your questions?
Yes, yes, totally. So,
Okay.
so thanks for this quite interesting topic.